I'll make sure not to tease you too bad, Nicholas.
Mm.
And welcome back, baby, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, listeners of all ages. The Dork Shared Gooniverse and Geeks Worldwide Radio proudly present to you the greatest podcast team in the world. He's the Fry Guy, Nick Friar. I'm the Backcracker, Dr. Joe. Together, we are the TLDR Comic Book Club. Baby! How's it going, Nicholas?
I like that, man. I love it. It's just you mix it up every time. It is the best intro in the DSG period, bar none. Maybe in all of podcasting period. And I'll tell you what, right now, you guys want to make sure, if you're not already, if you're catching us somewhere on Twitter, on Doc's Twitch stream at Backcracker, make sure you go find our audio channels right now, because you're gonna find out why we're really one of the best podcasting teams out there, especially when it comes to comic book coverage. Because, Joe, we have a Friar side chat coming, and as we know, you only can get those on our audio channels. So that's Apple, Spotify, Stitcher, Geeks Worldwide Radio, SoundCloud, all those places. It's the only place you're going to find it, not on our streams that we do weekly. And, Joe, who the fuck did we talk to this week?
We got Ryan Venom Boy Stegman, baby. Jesus Christ. Ryan Stegman. Holy smokes, man! He is one of the best artists going, and him and Kate's are one of the biggest teams, if not the biggest team going. And we saw them at Boston Fan Expo, and we gave them our information. I was not very confident that we would land either of them, but Stegman, when we talked to him, did ask us about, because we were wearing our shirts, asked us about, or you were wearing your shirt, asked us, what the premise of the show was and all that. So there was an interest there. And then, I wasn't expecting to hear back from them, but we heard back from Image, and Image hooked us up. And baby, I can't wait for this audio to drop.
Yeah, 100%. And I think the big thing that brought Stegman, and I think Cates will get him at some point down the line too, is we talked to him about how anti-Chip Zdarsky we are. Those two guys are as anti. I mean, they almost ruined our Stegman interview, because we told him that Chip's in our intro and our outro now. So yeah. That was a hot button topic, but
that was a great back and forth.
Yeah, but seriously, that was we tried to replicate it on the interview. I won't say it was as good, because those two together really feed off each other, and we see that in Vanish as well. And we didn't really talk a whole lot of Venom or Null with Ryan, but I think down the line that could end up happening too, because there's other stuff that he has in the works, and you guys will find out a little bit about that.
I tried,
yes,
but you know. Even he doesn't get info from the MCU. So.
Yes, I think we've learned that from Chip a little bit too, because I think it's probably Chip's fault, in all honesty, because one showrunner hears, "Oh yeah, I'm turning Daredevil into a rom-com," and then it's like, "What?"
Plus, I think Zdarsky has the ability of spoiling things a lot.
Yes,
tendency, I should say.
But we talked to him about Vanish, and this is now I'm not subscribed to their Substack. I have thought about theirs and another one as well, because for these guys though, for Cates and Stegman, the big reason was, once I saw the main character for Vanish, I was like, holy shit, this is gonna be fucking awesome, because Donnie is such an outstanding writer, and obviously we've seen it with crossover, we've seen it with Venom, and so much other stuff too. I've talked about God Country on here. You've talked about Redneck. I feel like there's another Donnie book that you've talked about.
I talked about Venom, and I talked.
Venom, okay, right, exactly. Venom, Carnage, all this stuff. But then, and obviously, like you said, Stegman, one of the best artists in the game right now, and the first issue of this book did not disappoint. Oh. And it comes up in the course of our solicit. We probably won't need to spend a whole lot of time on it at that point, but this is. I think you said it in the interview, like reading that first issue, it's like, this is going to be one of the best books of the year, period.
I've already put it into consideration for when we do our annual at the end of the year.
Yeah.
And it was funny because I can't remember if it was during the interview or if it was before we went live, but he was talking about, he had just gotten an email or off a call talking about the early FOC numbers. And he was sort of blown away. And then a couple of days later, Image tweets out that Vanish has, gone. They've joined the 100,000 club. Right?
100K club. That's a big fucking deal. But also, I'm
That's a
not surprised.
big deal. No,
I am.
no, but holy shit!
Yep.
And now I'll tell you, this book is worth it. It's too late to put to make sure that your store will order it for you. But what you can do is go to your store, say, "Hey, can you throw it on my pull list?" So if they have any extra copies, they'll take one. They'll put one aside for you,
Yep.
right?
Yeah.
And then you can then going forward, you'll keep getting them.
With how successful this was, and there's going to be a second edition too. Like, so
Oh
as much as you
Jesus,
don't
yeah.
want to have to wait for the second edition of it, you want to read this thing as soon as it comes out. I don't think there's going to be any shortage of copies because
No, I don't either. But
this
just
team is
letting you know.
amazing. This team is
Yeah.
amazing. But yes. Thank you. You got to inform people because not everybody knows. That's why I've been trying to inform people as much as we can with FLCs and everything like that. It may seem like we're being shills for the people that we have on the show, but it's like, no, we care about you guys most. We want to make sure you don't miss out on some of these awesome books.
And Sean's talked about it when we had Sean Lewis on, last time, just how important the FOCs are because
Mhm.
those are what's going to help keep a book alive, right?
Mhm.
Especially with these indie books, even though it says image on there, the creators still have to, go out there and hustle and bust their ass. And
Yep.
I mean, how many times have we seen it where there's been a book that we really love, but it either doesn't get picked up for a second arc or it gets canceled halfway through or whatever. So like these FOCs, they're not for the comic shop, right? Like the numbers are important because that tells the publisher, okay, this book is popular, people are reading it, let's keep it going.
Yep. 100%. It means you're doing the creators are doing something right, and it has a chance to keep going forward. And when you're talking about Image versus some of the other indie publishers too, there's a lot more at stake for their creators too, just because of the way the money that they have to put in and the sacrifices they have to make for it too. But that's where we do what we do with the interviews because look, we like getting the early review copies, we like interviewing the creators and hearing all this stuff, but we want to let you guys know about it too because like, hey, there's some awesome stuff out there. We don't want you to miss out on it. We don't ever to miss out on it.
And it might have weaseled us a couple more issues of Vanished out of Stegman.
I can't believe it. Wait a second. Didn't I ask the question because I was like I said this is what you do. I stole your move. Yeah.
You stole mine, but it's my move, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then we explained how it's my move. So essentially, I was going to ask it anyways. You just, yes. You just stepped on my funk. That's all.
Yes, but I couldn't believe it when he said it. I was like, oh wow, okay, all right.
And then I fucked up the fucking Wayne Gretzky, Michael Scott quote. So that'll be fun. That's why he wanted to listen to the interview to hear me sound like a fucking idiot.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was.
And then you called me out on it. And then you fucking up not too shortly afterwards.
Yeah,
so,
I don't think I understand the question. Well, I mean, because it was a poorly phrased question. It was really long, so I had to repeat myself. And I didn't cut that from the interview. So you guys are going to have a good laugh in the course of the conversation. But some awesome stuff. We talked about his influences too. Actually,
I flipped it on us.
Yes, he asked us who's influences, and you're like, I'm not good on the spot, and I'm like, well, I'm trying to go back based on what you said because, like, yeah, we see their artwork, and yeah, you can see influences of certain.
I mean, just looking for those watching right now, you can see Nick's background. He's got Stegman's artwork, and just looking at it, I mean, yeah, you see shades of Capullo in there, right? You see shades of Jim Lee in there, so you can see, he's about my age, Nick, so he's probably in between the two of us there. So grew up right around the same time. We got a lot of the same influence. We read a lot of the same books growing up, so you can see that. And he just kicks so much ass at it.
Yeah, but that was fun breaking all that stuff down and hearing who else he had that influences. Just like all the, like what hearing the things that like what he liked about Image so much growing as a kid, like just knowing how successful those two were on Venom at Marvel and with King of Black and everything. Now seeing that they're going into their own story that they have full control over, knowing their influences and the talent that these two have, like. They say 8 books, but I mean, I don't think it's in question that this is going to go beyond 8 books.
Yeah, and he talked about they've got plans for spinoffs and all that. So, Vanished, go to your local comic shop, say, hey, put this on my pull list, and you won't be disappointed.
Yo, you will not. And just like we have not been disappointed with Rings of Power, the Rings of Power on Amazon Prime, which for those who don't know, Joe and I famously had a debate with Billy D, Joe's other podcasting partner, who's, whatever. And of course, my other podcasting partner, Wes Sykes, it was on Change My Mind. It was Lord of the Rings versus Harry Potter. Lord of the Rings ended up winning out on that one. But Joe, this is obviously a little bit different. The Rings of Power focus on Galadriel. We got a little bit of Elrond and a lot of other characters in Middle Earth being introduced. What have you thought of the first 2 episodes?
I love the second issue a lot more, episode a lot more than the first, but I enjoyed the first very much.
Mm-hmm.
So this takes place during the Second Age. So again, the premise is in the title, right? The Rings of Power. We're going to see how all that came to be right before that big battle happens. But you get Elrond, you get Gladriel. You're going to get a couple other characters that we've not seen before, but you've heard mentioned, whether you've read the books or you've just seen the movies. You're going to hear references to some other characters. And the first issue, I keep want to call things issues. The first
this is a comic
episode,
book show. I mean,
right? The first episode, yeah, it was slow. It was plotting. There was a lot of world building, but it's important, right? For anyone that says, "Oh, this was slow," well, that's Tolkien, right? Right? Have you ever read The Return of the King? That thing's drier than 100-day-old brioche, right? It's not an easy read. That's just Tolkien, and they're not taking a ton of material, from because they weren't allowed to take too much from the actual source material. I believe the Silmarillion. I can never pronounce it.
Silmarillion? Yeah, something like that.
Right? I can never pronounce it correctly, but they're setting it up. The second episode has a lot more action. You get a lot more character development. There's some great stuff that happens with Elrond in this episode. So it's going to be a slow build, but I think the payoff it's going to be everything that we want. I've been waiting years for this, so very excited.
I only saw the first episode and I loved it. The only actors and actresses that I recognize, I think, were the High Elf King. I don't know his name, but I recognize him. I've seen the guy who's playing Elrond in, I think it's Behind Her Eyes, which is a Netflix show. He was outstanding in that show.
He's been great in the show.
Yeah, great actor. And then the woman from like the Rohan area. I've seen her in some stuff too. I don't know from where, but I've seen her in quite a few things.
Go watch that second episode, man. It's good. It's real good.
But when you talk about Tolkien and how it can be dry, there's also Tolkien is epic. Period.
Yes.
Like everything he does with Lord of the Rings is that. And just the first episode, the visuals, like the first Lord of the Rings movies came, well, not the first, the Lord of the Rings movies came out, in the early aughts and everything. Visually, they were stunning. Like for their time, they were just next level. Now, obviously, things have gotten so much better, but still, those age very well. Looking at this stuff now, it's like, holy shit, this stuff's on another level again.
Yeah, and I think what made the Lord of the Rings, the first movie, so great was the use of both practical effects and special effects. By the time you get to Return of the King, it's almost all CGI. It's almost all special effects, right? So it loses a little something there to me, at least.
Especially in The Hobbit.
Right. Oh, it's a Hobbit. Don't get me started on that.
Yeah.
But I think we're seeing that here with the Rings of Power, where everything it's on a grand scale, and you get these big sweeping views, you get these big CGI pieces, but there's also a lot of practical effects. So it has a lot more of that original Lord of the Rings feel to it, which I think is great.
Yeah, 100%. But enough about like actual book content. Let's get to some comic book stuff. Catching up. So I was a little bit busier over the weekend than I normally am. Going to be busy this weekend too, but I will have time to catch up on a lot of things next week, I'm sure. So I don't have anything to add. But what about you, Joe?
So I caught up on a few things. Red Sonja number 12. I had a feeling it was gonna end at the 12th issue, but I was hoping it would continue on. So Mirka Andolfo's run on Red Sonja appears to be over. Red Sitha was only 4 issues long. That ended, a week or two ago. So I hope she returns to that world. We're gonna try and talk with her at some point so we can talk about that. Hope, because she understands the character really well. I've never been a Red Sonja fan until now. Reading her stuff, it's been absolutely fantastic. Batman White Knight presents Red Hood number 2. Again, we asked a question a couple weeks ago. Does DC have a Red Hood problem? The answer is resoundingly yes. Yes. I mean, I love Sean Murphy, and I love what he does with the Murphyverse, right? I think with his last run of the White Knight, the second arc there, he had a one-off with Dr. Freeze, which I thought was excellent. And then his wife, Katana Collins, had written a 6-issue series on Harley Quinn, which was excellent. I love the world, but I don't know if it's a directive from up top DC or what, but there has been this shift with Red Hood over the past couple of years where he's gone from being a badass mercenary, right? Vigilante. He will do what Batman refuses to do to get the job done, to adjust. He's become a whinier Dick Grayson.
Yeah,
right? He
it's
doesn't quite
frustrating.
have the same virtues as Dick, and he's still like a head case for good reason, right? But he's gone. He's just his character's done a complete 180, and it's unfortunate because his character is so good.
It's tough. I mean, because like when you talk about Robins, right? I mean, I think Dork has highlighted it so well. Like Jason Todd as Robin, brutal.
Oh,
Like
terrible.
of the guys, like just looking at the guys, he's number 4 on that list. You start bringing in the women who've been Robin, he's probably even further down that list. But Red Hood, I mean, he might be the number 1 of all the well, until what was it, Tom Taylor and Bruno Redondo took over Nightwing. But like he might be number 1. It's him and Dick Grayson as the Robin, like post Robin career. As much as some of the guys are still kind of technically Robins, but you get my point. To now like go and basically like the way you just described him, Joe, I'm listening to him, like he just sounds like he's back to old Jason Todd, like Robin Jason Todd.
Yeah.
That's not what he is. Like if you want to make him like unstable in a problem, like then make him a full-blown problem. Like just make him a villain again. Like I'd be totally fine with it. I'm gonna love him if he's a villain too. Like it's still gonna work for me.
Yeah. We saw this with Zdarsky had a couple issues with him, right?
Mm-hmm.
And what I enjoyed about that was there was still that essence of Red Hood. Chip has a great ability of tapping into the human psyche there, and Jason takes Red Hood. Jason takes someone out, but then he sees the direct consequence of what happened, and so there's some remorse there. And I thought that was good inner conflict, right? Like, okay, that to me was a good balance of Jason Todd and Red Hood under the mask, right?
Yeah.
But what they've done now is they've completely stripped away who Red Hood is, and they've just zeroed back in on Jason Todd. And that's just we don't need that. We don't want that. We had that before. We didn't like it, right? You're gonna have to fucking kill the guy again and do the whole thing. Call 1-900 bop 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 if you want to save Jason Todd or not, right? And it's gonna be 100% no. Kill the bastard, bring back Red Hood, and let him start fucking bop bop bop.
Yeah, it's frustrating. It really is really disappointing. Like I mean, I hate like it's not. I know, like I know I say this as much to anybody. Like you take what the creative stuff that's being given to you and understand like I just don't like it when people get all upset when it's like this isn't what we always like we're used to, and like the characters are not. Like they can grow, they can like develop and all this different stuff. I mean, we want that kind of stuff. I absolutely do. And that is kind of what we're talking about. Where like Chip did develop the character. He did take it like that is kind of the domino that led to all of this. But then I just feel like they've taken so many sidesteps where it's almost they've gone and backpedaled instead.
But they've kind of started this with Gotham Future, or was it Gotham Future State, or was it Urban? No, Chip started it in Urban Legends. Yeah, you're right. And then from there, it's just gone. And so his character, like the way Murphy approached, and now Murphy, because it's Black Label, has definitely taken some liberties with these characters. Like I love what he's done with Dick Grayson, but what he's done with Red Hood just hasn't worked. And what stinks is that it's been at the cost of the White Knight Beyond arc, which I think will pick up again next month. But all this is a long way to say meh. Only 2 issues, very meh. I caught up on Book of Shadows issue 2 from Cullen Bunn.
Nice.
Detective Comics 1063 by Ram V. Fantastic.
Nice.
It is tremendous. And what they've done smartly is when Tamaki was writing it was weekly or bi-weekly. Now it's going back to monthly. Huge. Can really, really tell a really great story there. So his take on Batman's been great. And then finally, Wolverine 23.
Nice. Benjamin
Yes.
Percy, our guy. Awesome stuff over there. Let's head into what's new and get started on our solicit. We have the week. So this is the week of the 7th of September, first week of September, first full week, I should say. Joe, what do we got from Marvel this week?
Marvel, we have Moon Knight number 15, Wolverine 24, Immortal X-Men number 6, New Mutants number 29, She-Hulk, twerk, 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 number 6, Ghost Rider number 6, Punisher number 6, Star Wars 27, Marauders number 6. A lot of number 6 is 666.
I don't like that. I don't. Not at all.
Axe, Death to the Mutants number 2. New Fantastic Four number 4. Black Panther number 9. Captain America, Sentinel of Liberty number 6. And then a whole bunch of number 1s here. We're not going to dive into these too deeply. I'll just sort of read them off and let you know who the writer and the artists are. We have Spider-Man 2099, Exodus Omega number 1. Figure out your deal with the title. Written by Steve Orlando with art by Paul Fry. This one I'm interested in. Alien number 1, written by Philip Kennedy Johnson, with artist Julius Ota.
Another Alien thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
All Out Avengers number 1, written by Derek Landry with art by Greg Land. And then X-Men Moon Girl number 1, written by Mohal Mashago and art by David Cutler.
So you know what's annoying? Like we have a lot of weeks where we're like with Marvel, it's just like they don't have a whole lot that we're interested in because it's just they have so much different stuff going on and it's just like impossible to keep track. This is the week where it's like for me, Moon Knight, Wolverine, Ghost Rider, like Immortal X-Men, like they have everything going on all in the same week. And it's just like I do enjoy that, but for the sake of our show, like
it's tough.
Spread it out for us, please.
Just a touch, just a smidge.
You don't mind, because also with Marvel review copies, you don't get them at the same time as everybody else, so it's a little bit harder to get some of those in.
And they give them all to us on one day now instead of over on 2 different days, which is
I don't know
tough.
what that's about. But DC Comics, we get those stuff way in advance. We do have Dark Crisis issue 4, Flashpoint Beyond issue 5, Poison Ivy number 4. Really been enjoying Poison Ivy big time. Batman Neo Year issue 6. The New Champion of Shazam, issue 2, Sword of Azrael, issue 2, Multiversity Teen Justice, issue 4, Nubia, Queen of the Amazons, issue 4. And then, Joe, before we get into any of these first issues, I know you want to talk about Chip's second issue on Batman.
Oh, man, third issue.
Is it? I thought his first one was 125. Am I wrong?
Oh, you might be wrong. I might have written it down. It might be 127.
Okay, I'll double check that for you.
Double check that because I think it's 127 that comes out this week. It's absolutely fantastic. Holy smokes! The turn that the way the last issue ended, and then what you get with this issue. I can't say anything without spoiling it, but this is some of the best Batman stuff I've read. On the mainline Batman in some time. Like I enjoyed a majority of Tynan's run. It started to get a little stale towards the end, and Williamson's run was fine, right? It was nothing like, to write home about, but this
127, you're right. 127.
Yep. So I wrote it down wrong, so that's my bad. Okay. The way what he does with Bruce and Batman in this issue, and the guy, what he's going up against and who shows up at the end of this book. If you haven't been reading mainline Batman, go get issue 125, go get issue 126, read this week. You'll be fine. All you need to know, right, is that some time ago, Bruce Wayne lost all his money, so he's got to, figure out, he's Batman, but he doesn't have the Batcave. We just have Wayne Manor. He's got a bunch of, but that's it. Other than that, read it, fucking enjoy it. It is awesome.
Okay, fucking enjoy it. Damn it. Also, speaking of Batman stuff, of course, we have no shortage of Batman things coming out. We have Batman Night Watch, written by Joseph Torres with the artist Eric Owen. Black Adam, the Justice League Society Files, Atom Smasher. The writer of this is Brian Miller and Kevin Scott. And then artists Marco Santucci and Travis Mercer. We have Dark Knights of Steel, Tales from the Three Kingdoms. This is Tom Taylor. So this is the second collection of Dark Knights of Steel, right? The next 3 issues or whatever it was.
So
like 3 and then 3.
So this Dark Knights of Steel, Tales from the Three Kingdoms. No, this is sort of like a prequel. This is like the characters when they were young in the
Oh,
kingdom, when they're
oh,
kids, right? So that's why I didn't want to throw a big synopsis. I'm sure I'll read it; it'll be fine. But this is sort of like a collection of stories from like the days before, well before where we are with Tom Knight's current run of Dark Knights of Steel.
okay. Now,
Yeah.
Batman Dear Detective issue 1 is another one that's out. I'm definitely gonna go back and read this one as well as the Dark Knights of Steel prequel. I didn't know that was what it was. Just overlooked it, assuming it was the collected edition. Dumbass I am. But Batman Dear Detective issue 1. This is from Lee Bermejo, and I know you were interested in this too.
Yeah. So there's no real synopsis here, but this is going to be something you're going to want to buy because this feels like a collector's piece. So it's a one-part prestige book, one part prestige art book, and then one part compelling noir tale. So this is sort of taking a lot of Lee Bermejo's cover art and Batman stuff that he's done over the years. I mean, he is a great Batman artist. Because he's his palettes are dark and he's got those great horror vibes. I mean, he's just one of the best. And then there's a story in there as well, and I think the story is using his artwork like to tell the story, right? That's
Mhm.
part of the thing. So if you're a fan of Lee Bermejo, if you're obviously if you're a fan of Batman, this feels like a nice collection piece. Enjoy it. It's a one-off sort of thing. And I just wanted to mention that because that just sounds really badass.
Yeah, I'm scrolling through it right now through the review copies that we get, and yeah, you're right. It's like a lot of just it seems like cover art, like you said, prestige art. Like this is 100% a must-have for the Batman diehards because it's all just like I mean, they all look like covers, and even just the cover alone for this one, like he has, like you said, he has a gritty style to him, but
Yeah.
there's also like a little bit of like a realistic nature
Yeah.
to it
I
as
was just
well.
about to say there's a realism to it, right? And I think it's the realism that really sort of emits those horror vibes. But again, his palette it's dark and it's gritty, and
Hmm.
it just to me it screams Batman. Like
100%.
he could be drawing and it not be Batman, but I'd still feel like we're in Gotham.
Yep,
If
100%.
that makes sense.
Yep, and I mean, I don't know, like, look,
A
when we think
gothic. He's got a very gothic
mm,
right feel to his art.
I see what you did there. But I'll tell you what, like, if you're looking, I don't think this necessarily will lay out like a normal coffee table book, but this is something that like you put like the cover of this, you put this on a coffee table, and then someone scrolls through it, they're gonna be like, this is some crazy friggin' art, man. This is some cool shit. So yeah, definitely something. I'm like as we're looking through it right now, I was thinking about reading it, but now it's like it's not really something that you read. It is something that you look through, and I think it could be a very good pickup for either one of us, honestly.
Yeah,
Um,
definitely.
but then we go to Image, of course, the one of the publishers that we highlight the most throughout the course of every week, pretty much, Joe. We got Spawn 333, Image issue 5, Sweet Paprika, the final issue, which I am 2 issues behind on that one. A Town Called Terror, issue 6. I still have to read that. Did you end up catching up on this one for this week?
Um, I have not. I've read Dead Lucky, right? I've
Yep.
read Twig. I have not read Spawn in a very long time.
No, A Town Called Terror, Joe.
Sorry.
Okay.
I was distracted for a second. I did
Okay.
catch up on this. I'm enjoying it, but I'm at the point now where I'm like, let's do it.
Aha.
Let's do it.
Okay. All
Let's wrap
right.
it up. You've been
We will get
building.
back.
I need it to wrap up because there's a whole other sub story that we really haven't touched upon, and I need it.
Mhm.
I need it.
We will get back to those other two in a second that you had just mentioned, but Starhenge book 1, The Dragon and the Boar issue 3. I don't even remember seeing issues 2 and 1 to be quite honest with you guys. That Texas Blood issue 17, which I believe this is a Jacob Phillips book. I believe he's the artist on this. Something that one of us needs to go back and look at for the show. Golden Rage issue 2, Prodigy issue 3. For our first issues, we got Antioch issue 1. This is from Patrick Kinlan and Marco Ferrari. I guess this is a team from Frontiersman, I believe. I don't think
Yeah, it's a continuation of
it's
it's a
a
new story, but it's a continuation. I'll tell you what, I got halfway through the first Frontiersman and I said, nope, Nope, it's
Yeah.
too on the nose. It's
Yeah,
too heavy
exactly.
hitting. I am out, and
Yeah.
I don't honestly need more of that.
Tell you what, Poison Ivy hits on like similar type stuff that Frontiersman wants to hit on, like from a like environmental perspective. Everybody knows that about Poison Ivy. I love Poison Ivy. I didn't like Frontiersman. All set. Thanks.
Yeah.
But anyways, let's get to a couple books that we loved from Image this week. Why don't you start us off with Twig issue 5?
So this was the finale for Twig. I love this story. It is like wonderfully horrible, or not. No, that's not the right way to say it. Like, it's got this. It's wonderfully weird. That's the way I want to, because it's got like, I was trying to say it's got, I don't want to say it's got horror vibes. I was just trying to figure out how I wanted to say it, but it is wonderfully weird, and it's got some moments where you're kind of like, well, that's kind of fucked up. But this little character, Twig, he's so goddamn cute.
Yeah.
And when you finally find out what his mission is, and the purpose of sort of, his lineage of, of people, creatures needing to carry out this task, it was really cool. And then we find out that we will be getting more Twig,
Nice.
at the end of it. So this was wildly, wonderfully weird, and just Kyle Strom's art has been fantastic. It's bright, it's weird, it's out there. I love Scotty Young as a writer. He's when he wrote Middle West, absolutely loved it. So
Yeah.
great shit. Great shit.
Middle West, one of the first books that you talked about in the show, and of course, Kyle Strom, friend of the show. Speaking of friends of the show, it's funny. We recently talked about the Dead Lucky, and I think I said we're not getting that first issue until like that, like it was a ways away from the release date. I was a freaking dumbass. Like, no, the second issue's out this month. The third issue's out in October. The Dead Lucky issue 2 is out this week. We both got to read this one. We had a longer wait than everybody else. I really enjoyed it. There's like, and what's interesting too is like, there's like the table was set for a lot of stuff in the first issue, and then certain things evolve in the second issue. But I still feel like I have questions coming out of this issue. But I want that out of most books. Like, I think Scott Snyder is one of the best at doing that. Like, creating questions from issue to issue, where it's just like, wait, what's going on? Like, I don't understand it. Where like Sean Lewis, right, talked to us about like that propulsion from one issue to the next. And like for sometimes it's like badass stuff. Like we read Vanish and we get the end of the issue and it's like, oh my fuck. And then like, but then with Scott stuff, a lot of times it's like, wait, what? Like it makes sense, but like I need more clarification on this. And with the Dead Lucky, I feel like I got quite a bit of that in this second issue.
Yeah, and what else we got in this issue too, which was really great, is that we get even more character development, right? Like, what's the main character's name?
Phoebe.
Yes, thank you. Right, like what we get from her in the first issue is we see some of those flaws, but they're not like terribly at the forefront, right? Like they're there, you see them, and then this issue, like there's a scene where she has a confrontation with one of her friends, and it was very real, right?
Oh yeah.
And when we talked with Melissa Flores about this, right? Like we said, like her character, it comes from a very real place, and she told us where that comes from, and you feel it, right? It is probably the realest character that we have in that universe there, in the Massiveverse, right?
I thought you were going to say even beyond that, because like it's one of the realer characters that we have in general right now in comics. Yeah.
But especially within the Massiveverse, if you take a look at all the characters, and like, there's parts of what's his name from Rogue Sun that you can identify, right? Same thing, with Nathan and whatnot from Radiant Black, but like here, it's the dialogue. You feel it. It's just, it's emotional, and it's really, it was a fantastic issue, and I can't wait to see, because there's, again, like you said with Scott, there's a lot of like little moving parts here. So there's threads kind of going here, there, and everywhere, and we know like like with Scott, they all come together, and when they come together, it is chef's kiss. So that's sort of what I'm expecting here with Melissa and Dead Lucky. Like, we've got these little spindles going out there, and then when this wraps up, but I think it's 5 or 6 issues, right? Boom, and we're gonna be like, oh fuck,
yep,
yes, And then I think that should be taking us into Supermassive issue 2.
Yes.
Right?
Right. Now, the one thing I want to say, going back to what you're talking about with that that back and forth, that is a great call. Forgot about that. When I read that, I was like, this feels like after hearing Melissa talk to us and everything. If you haven't listened to that interview, go back and check it out. It was a great conversation with her. After hearing that conversation and reading that particular back and forth, I think it was all over one page. It's like, this feels very real based on the conversation that we had with her. And I was like, fuck, like she's really like pouring things out into this. And and that's kind of what we hope for whenever we do our interviews too. Like, we want our interviews to be like an accent piece to these comics. So that way you guys have a deeper understanding of what's going on from the creators and get great appreciation from it, because that moment right there hit us both. We didn't talk about it before the show, and it definitely hit us pretty hard. Yeah, awesome stuff from Melissa and Dead Lucky. Skybound, we got the Walking Dead Deluxe issue 46. Of course, they print through Image. Boom. So we got Magic the Gathering issue 18. We got Basilisk issue 11 from our guy Cullen Bunn. But the book, this is for me, this is the book of the week, Joe, and I'm sure it is for you.
Get that. Yeah, not only is it the book of the week, but it's also, I think, going to earn artist and writer of the week over on our Instagram page.
Once in Future 29, the penultimate issue of Kieran Gillen and Dan Mora and Tamara Bonvillain's epic story. Holy shit. So I did a little refresher for Geeks Worldwide on this one and did add my review to this as well on Tuesday as we're recording this. Holy shit. This is like the art. The art in these last few issues has been absolutely batshit. But the biggest thing that stands out to me most, Joe, is how Kieran, like we talk about all these little threads, like he's got this crazy fucking tangled web. He's got like what is it, Charlie Day, like Always Sunny level shit. And it's like, nope, got it. I'm all set. I'm in complete control. And he shows that very much in this issue. Holy shit. Awesome stuff.
Well, that's the thing, is I had no idea where things were going to go at the end of the last issue.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then when we see how it all unfolds, I never would have predicted that in a million years. Like, you could tell there's a moment where early on, there's dialogue between Duncan and Gran. And it was that little moment sort of towards the beginning where I said, this is what he had planned all along.
Yep.
Like, once in Future went from being just a 6-issue story to then being picked up and becoming the powerhouse that it was. My feeling now is that this is exactly how he wanted it to go. We have to try and get him back on again, because I want to ask him that. There's several things I want to ask him about, about this series, but like, I read that and I go, motherfucker, yeah, he had this perfectly played out, because it was like when it comes together, when you read it and when you realize that, oh, what? Son of a bitch.
Yep.
Gran knew what to do the whole time. It was just, playing it. It was again, it was just, it's so bittersweet that the next issue is going to be the last.
Yeah.
Right. Like, cause it feels like okay, the story, like, again, this is a good place to end it, but man, I wish I had more.
And when we talk, I think we should do an episode on this at some point. Look, I know we don't get to do enough mainline stuff as is, because we are the Woodward and Bernstein of the Dork Shared Gooniverse. But at some point, we talk about doing stuff for the people, like with these solicits. I think we need to consider like indie books that you should consider for like doing like a list. And we can do this multiple times. Like, if you're trying to like, okay, I like Marvel, I like DC, maybe I want to get back into comics, or I want to help introduce somebody to other comics out there. What should I do? Now, Joe has done an episode on Once in Future. It was one of our early episodes of TLDR, but I think it is something that's worth revisiting now that it's done too, because when I think of like, hey, what's a good indie book to recommend to somebody? For me, Sarah's one of the ones that jumps right to the forefront from TKO Studios, but Once in Future is right there as well.
Mm-hmm. Something's Killing the Children.
Mm-hmm.
There's
a lot, but I don't want to put you on the spot. Like, I know you don't like that necessarily.
Middle West, do it right. I could. Yeah,
we got a lot that we could definitely go. I mean, Philadelphia is another one too. which I'm sure we're going to talk about a little bit later on in this. If we ever get to the other weeks in the solicit. So we got Dark Horse Shock Shop issue 1. We just had Cullen Bunn on the show to talk about this. Really enjoyed the first issue. I think this whole series is going to be a lot of fun, where he can try a lot of different things here in the horror realm. So Joe and I both really enjoyed it. Go listen to that interview. Pick this one up when this week. Survival Street issue 2. I kind of want to give this a look, because this is like that fucked up like Sesame Street thing. I kind of want to give it a look and see what it's about, but we'll see. Cyberpunk 2077, Blackout issue 4, The Ward issue 3, Mind Management Bootleg issue 3. I don't know what that one is from Dark Horse. I don't remember seeing
more
Freezes
Mad
1
Kid
and 2
stuff. Yeah.
Okay. Then IDW, we got TMNT issue 132, and then we got a number 1 issue from AWA this week.
Yeah, we have Erratic Recharged number 1, written and drawn by Carr Andrews. So when I first started reading AWA a couple years ago now, this was one of those books that was one of their early on, early pillars. And this is a book that takes place within the Resistance universe. But I didn't read it for whatever reason. Either couldn't find it at my store, or it had already been out, and it was one that I went back to. But I've heard nothing but fantastic things. This is a book that I need to read. And so with it taking place in the Resistance universe, we've talked about the Resistance Reborn, Resistance Volume 2, Moths, right? A big sort of pandemic event happens. A virus wipes out a ton of people, and then a bunch of them come back with superpowers. And so Erratic is about teenager who comes back with powers, but he can only use his powers 10 minutes at a time. Right. So it's like, imagine Spider-Man, but Peter Parker can only be Spider-Man for 10 minutes at a time, sort of thing. So this is a book that I'm going to go back, read the first volume, because I want to read this one as it comes out monthly. So Erratic Recharge Complete. The teenage hero with superpowers that only work 10 minutes at a time is back to save the world again as he navigates even more pressing perils. Young love, bullies, a broken family, and the gauntlet that is high school. This time, young Oliver Leaf is teamed with a barbarian princess who claims to be from another dimension. So, yeah, I'm in.
Cool. Yeah, that does sound very interesting. Erratic is one that I remember seeing that early on when you first introduced me to AW. It's like, oh, I should check that out. I have not yet, but I'll have to get on that so I can check this stuff out too. Dynamite, we got Immortal Red Sonja issue 10, 007 issue 2. Then we got the Ninjets, written by Fred Van Lent, and drawn by Joe Cooper. Is this one that's on your radar too?
Possibly.
Okay.
It seems interesting, but we'll have to see if the comic shop gets it or not.
Okay. From Comixology, we got New American issue 2, a book that I have claimed as well, Dudley Dotson and the Forever Machine, written by Scott Snyder, artist Jamal Eagle. I got to give this one a look. I will definitely put this at the top of my list to talk about on and catching up next week. Then Aftershock, we got Vineyard issue 2, and another book you wanted to highlight, Last Line issue 1, written by Richard Dinnick and art by Jose Holder.
Yeah, this one piqued my interest. So Sally Hazard just had the worst day of her life. While on her usual shift as a driver for the Tube, the unthinkable happened when a man is pushed in front of her train and killed. But there's something strange here. Sally swears the man was pushed, but her supervisors, witnesses, and the CCTV footage all show the man falling on his own. Sally cannot let this go, and her investigation into murder introduces her to an MI6 agent named Earl Tarn, also curious about the so-called incident. Together, Sally and Ed discover an off-world explanation for the assassination, plus an alien invasion and the craziest plot twist of all, an interplanetary travel system buried deep beneath the London Underground. So, this sounds fantastic. The synopsis was a little long, which always makes me a little nervous, but I'm very intrigued.
Okay, I that does sound interesting. And Aftershock is always one that I'm like, okay, like we don't get the review copy, so I'm always curious when we do these solicits what they got coming. Speaking of doing solicits, we're running a little bit behind schedule here, Joseph. Let's get to the week of the 14th and kick us off with Marvel, please, sir.
Okay, so we have The Amazing Spider-Man number 9, Daredevil number 3, Venom number 10, Axe Judgment Day number 4, X-Men Red number 6, Edge of the Spider-Verse number 3, Obi-Wan number 5, Iron Man 23, Captain Marvel, 41. Star Wars Bounty Hunters, number 27. Spider-Punk, number 5. Predator, number 2. X-Men 92. See how I shortened that one up? I'm not reading House of XICC. Savage Adventures, number 5. And then a couple of number ones. We have Midnight Suns, number 1, written by Ethan Sachs, art by Luigi Zagaria.
Giving that one a look.
Are you?
Yes, yeah, Midnight Suns, absolutely want to give a look. I don't even know the team that they're using, but I want to give that a look.
And then Miss Marvel Venom, odd pairing. Number 1, written by Jody Hauser with art by Dave Wachter.
I will make sure to report back to everybody next week on Midnight Suns, so that way you're fully aware of how we feel about it. DC this week, or the week of the 14th, I should say, we got Wonder Woman 791, Superman Son of Kal-El issue 15, Batman Urban Legends issue 19, Batgirls 10, Jurassic League 5, I Am Batman 13, Future State Gotham issue 17. And then for first issues, we got Batman versus Robin, written by Mark Waid, artist Mahmoud Asrar. Now this is stuff like continuation from Williamson's world, but Williamson's not writing it, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Yep. So, So this was a little. So I thought Williamson was continuing it on, but no, he's moving on. So he's done with Robin.
You know what? I think it's a good move by him. Kicked ass with this. Like it's cool. They're going to keep doing stuff with Damian Wayne. They should pick up where Williamson left off, because obviously you loved Williamson, and I trust your judgment of everybody else's. So like, good move by him. Just like done, awesome. I dominated that. I don't need to do anymore. I told those stories that I needed to tell. Dark Crisis World Without Wonder Woman issue 1, written by Teenie Howard and Dan Waters, artists, Brandon Peterson and Layla Del Duca. Then we got The Flash, The Fastest Man Alive, written by Kenny Porter. And the artist is Ricardo Lopez Ortiz, who was the artist with Steve Orlando on The Pull, which is a TKO book that I absolutely love. What about Image, Joe?
So Image, we have King Spawn 14. The Silver Coin 14. This one's written by Pornchak Pishotti, who wrote The Good Asian, right? Which I talked about on this book, which won an Eisner. Right?
Yeah,
I know how to pick them.
The Good Asian.
I know how to pick them.
By the way, a little peek behind the curtain. I know we're running a little long, Joe, but I just want everybody to know, Joe tried to call dibs on Vanish on me, which I told him about Vanish before I was the one that told him about it. Like, Joe knows who Donny Cates and Sagnar, like, obviously, and like big fan and everything. But I told him about Vanish. I said, this thing's gonna fucking slap. And he's like, I haven't heard much about it. Whatever. He tried to pull that one on me. Fucked up. Go ahead, as you were.
I still call dibs. Do a Power Bomb number 4. A Righteous Thirst for Vengeance number 11.
Finale.
Yeah. Love shit. Everlasting number 2. Seven Sons number 4. And a friend of the show, Sean Lewis's Above Snakes issue 3. And then we have 2 number 1s here from Image. Surprise, surprise, that we want to talk about. I'll go first here. 10,000 Black Feathers, number 1, written by Jeff Lemire with art by Andrea Sorrentino. This is part of the Black Orchard mythos. And this one am I looking forward to read. Trish and Jackie are best friends and avid gamers, but when the line between reality and their fantasy world is blurred by an evil darkness, can they be the heroes of their own story? So absolutely 100% in on this.
So I'm going to be a good friend here. After what I just said and how you pissed me off, I'm going to give you dibs on this if you want. I'm going to present you with it. Do you want it?
Well, of course. I mean, you could say dibs. I was going to read it anyways. So.
Well, yeah. No. That's not. I would never. See, here's the difference between you and me. I wouldn't fucking pull a book like that on you that I know you're dying to read. Like, I've been dying to read Vanish. Like, again, was almost going to do the Substack because of this book, because I was dying to read it. So that's the difference. So do you want dibs on this Lemire Sorrentino book?
Of course. But again, regardless, I'm going to read it anyways. So.
It's not about you reading it or not. I'm not going to call dibs no matter what. I'm just saying I'll hold off so you can do it on the show. I'm going above and beyond. Maybe you just that's a little too next level for you. So I'll talk about my book. So I'll let you wrap your head around that. The least we can do. Written by
today, Junior.
Ilanda Zanfordino. Artist Elisa Ramboli. I gotta stop doing that to myself. The synopsis for this one: mysterious magical power arises from a world nearly destroyed by war, a young woman fights for her ideas of revolution and to build a new society from the debris. Realizing that she can't do it alone, she has to prove her worth to the Eclipse rebels to join them against the dreadful Eden army. A story of discovering what is right and what love means in a military occupied and socially oppressed United Kingdom. I don't know this creative team like at all, but I want like this synopsis hooked me in right away when I was looking it over. So I definitely want to give this one a shot when it comes time.
Yeah, it sounds fantastic. 100%. That sounds like that's a synopsis that really does its job. It's not
Yeah.
too long, gives you the hot points, and boom, pulls you in.
Yeah. Well said, Joe. From Boom, we got Flavor Girls issue 3. From Dark Horse, Young Hellboy Assault on Castle Death issue 2. And we also got a couple first issues. Masquerade issue 1, written by Kevin Smith and Andy McElfresh. The artist is John Sprengelmeyer. Castle Full of Blackbirds issue 1, written by Mike Mignola and Angela Slater. And the artist on this is Valeria Burzo. This is a Hellboy story, it looks like. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
What else we got from this week?
So I'll rattle through a few of these here. From IDW, we have Dark Spaces Wildfire number 3. Again, that's Scott Snyder and Hayden Sherman.
Yes.
Boom. That's 2 shows in a row now, baby.
Wow. Bravo.
Vault, we have Mindset number 3 and Lunar Room number 4. I feel like it's been a hot minute since that book was last out. From Dynamite, we have Immortal Red Sonja number 6. From Comixology, we have Canary number 3. And then from Aftershock, we have There's Something Wrong with Patrick Todd number 3. I have the first 2 issues, haven't read them yet. They're next on the pile to read. There's Samurai Doggy number 2. And then new from Aftershock that week is the 06 Protocol number 1, written by Lee Turner and art by Cliff Richards. This one piqued your interest there, Nicholas?
Yeah, it did. So the synopsis for this one: the seemingly perfect life of the Marino family is shattered when family patriarch Faust is brutally murdered on a quiet summer night. His wife, Kat, and 16-year-old daughter, Missy, are forced to confront a shocking truth about Faust's involvement in a secret government program known as the 06 Protocol. Now, my only concern when I read this one is like, okay, is that basically tells us everything that's going to happen in this first issue? That's my only concern, because I really hope we get a little bit more than that to propel us into the second issue, because this concept sounds very interesting enough for me to give it a look, because it sounds like the stuff can get pretty chaotic. So I'm going to give this a look, and hopefully it's a little bit more than just the synopsis, which usually most things are, I feel like, in the stuff that we read, right?
What I hope for here is that, what'll happen is you'll have the murder starting right at the bat, boom, and then you find out what it is, and then you'll get some flashback stuff, right?
Yeah.
And you'll get about, what it was that he did for the government and all that stuff. And then is there a deeper conspiracy here? All that kind of stuff. So this does have some great potential.
Yeah, absolutely. Now let's move into the third week of the month. That is the week of the 21st. Marvel, as you do, please start us off, Joe.
Okay, so we have Axe Judgment Day 5. I feel this is coming out weekly, it seems like. This can't be right.
I know I copied it down right. I know that for a fact.
Darth Vader 27, Legion of X number 5, Carnage number 6, The Mandalorian from friend of the show Rodney Barnes, issue number 3, name drop. X-Men Legends number 2, Jane Foster and the Mighty Thor number 4, and then we have a number 1, X-Terminators number 1, written by Lee Williams and art by Carlos Gomez.
The one, so Jubilee is in this, Dazzler is in this, and it looks like X-23 is in this. Anytime X,
so it's gonna be the lamest issue outside of X-23.
Well, yeah, I was gonna say that anytime I see X-23 in the mix, I'm interested, but I'm not a big Jubilee guy necessarily either. So I don't know. I might give it a look, but like I just don't like X-23 is like a loner. So it's like she's good in a pair, like when it was her and Honey Badger, like great pair. Gabby is awesome. But when it's just her, awesome. But like as a team, it's like she always seems to take a back seat. So I'm a little, I don't know necessarily now that like you make that joke. It's like, yeah, you're kind of right. Like, I don't know. DC. So we got Nightwing 96, of course, must read stuff from DC. Probably the best ongoing book right now. Batman, Superman, World's Finest issue 7, which I know you're reading and your nephew loves that. Although he doesn't love apparently Princess Peach and Daisy, but whatever. Batman the Night issue 9, of course, from our guy Chip Zdarsky. Deceased, War of the Undead Gods issue 2, the final chapter of Tom Taylor's story. Black Adam issue 4. Fables, friend of the show, Rich Keefe, one of his favorite books out there. Fables 155. I believe all that's on Hoopla, and I know you're trying to catch up on some of that stuff. Then we got Batman, One Bad Day, Two-Face, issue 1 by Mariko Tamaki and Javier Fernandez. I don't think we need to say any more than that. Like,
reading
that is
this one.
amazing team. Yes.
Hands down, reading that. I didn't read the Tom King one from the week before, from the whatever before, but this one I'm reading.
Yeah, I might that I forget who he was highlighting in that one. I think it was the Riddler.
Joker. Oh, Riddler. Yeah.
That's something I'd be interested in going back and checking out. But this is like just that creative team alone. That is an amazing pairing, right?
100%. 100%. That's a must read.
You don't need more than that. Like no one should need more than that based on how we've talked about those two creators. And then we got Titans United Blood Pact issue 1, written by Kevin Scott, art by Lucas Meyer.
All right. So from Image, the third week of September, we have Gunslinger Spawn number 12, Radiant Black 18, Ice Cream Man number 32, Public Domain number 4, Nita Hawes number 4, Rogues Gallery number 3, The Deadliest Bouquet number 2. And then we have, that's me. And then we have Vanish number 1 from Cates and Stegman, which we have talked about on this show at great length.
We have?
Yeah.
Vanish. I haven't heard this one. Okay. But yeah, this is a fucking, like, we talk about like Image big time weeks, Gunslinger Spawn, Radiant Black, Ice Cream Man. I mean, the list goes on, and then you got Vanish number 1. It's like, holy
this is a banger of a week. And so that's the thing too, is like a lot of times Image is right up there with Marvel and DC, where they'll have 10, 11, 12 books out. Not the case here, but just about everyone that comes out here, is fucking fantastic. They're all fantastic. What am I talking about?
See,
like, these are all must-read books.
That's the thing, because I look at, like, when I complained about Marvel, it's like we'll have like 3 months out of the week, 3 weeks out of the month, and it's like, like, okay, maybe we have one book, and then we have 1 week where it's like everything. Image is just like every week, it's like they have at least like 3 to 5 or maybe even like 7 awesome books. Like, looking at this week, we got like 5 or 6 really good books. It's like and there's probably other books that I didn't jot down here that other people are reading. So they kick ass every week. So like, I don't get bothered by it. It's like, well, if you kick ass all the time, you can't complain. It's what they do. Get over it, right?
Yeah.
And then from Skybound too, we got Creepshow issue 1. This is written by Chris Burnham written and drawn by Chris Burnham. And then it looks like there's like 2 stories in here. Then we also get Paul Dini and Steve Langford writing with John McCrae as the artist. So this looks like it's going to be like another anthology kind of thing. Each issue of Creepshow will feature different creative teams with uniquely horrifying standalone stories. So something like, if you're a horror fan, I think it's just worth like taking the flyer on and giving it a look. Of course.
Yeah. I mean, we talked about this with Cullen Bunn, right? He's doing it with Shock Shop. We've seen it with, Michael Walsh over at the Silver Coin. I mean, Ice Cream Man still going strong. It looks like, Haha is been done for a great long while, but we're starting to see a little bit more of these sort of horror anthology books. And I think that's a great way to tell horror stories. Each month, you get a book with 1 or 2 different stories in them from some, there's either one common thread, whether it be the writer or the artist, but you get these different stories each month. And I think that's just a great way to tell good, quick little horror stories.
I could not agree more. Like, that's spot on.
Because one story, a horror story, depending on who's writing what it is, like, if you feel like there's a finite thing there, it's very rare when a horror book can span 20, 30, 40
right,
plus issues. Cullen Bunn did it with Harrow County, right? We've seen it done before, but it's few and far. But this is perfect, right? It gives you those little. It's like, when you're younger and you watched
Afraid of the Dark.
Are You Afraid of the Dark? Or what's the show with the Crypt Keeper there? that was on HBO.
I actually didn't watch this.
Tales from the Crypt.
Tales
Right?
from the Crypt, yeah.
Right. It's that same vein, right? So I think it's great.
Yeah.
Tapping into all that, I think it's a great way to do it.
Yeah, so you got that, and you got Shock Shop. Of course, if you're picking up one or the other, I think they're in separate weeks, but pick up Shock Shop from our guy Cullen. But I'll roll through these other ones, Joe. I know there's one more book you want to highlight from this week. We got Berserker, your favorite, issue 10, Wind, the Throne in the Sky, issue 2. And then also from Boom, we have Stuff of Nightmares, issue 1. This is an R.L. Stine book. I think he signed a deal. It was announced a little while back where some of his stories are going to get turned into comics. So the artist on this one is A.L. Kaplan. So, of course, the rules, if you're going to be drawing any R.L. Stine book, you have to have initials only as your first name. From Dark Horse, we got Parasomnia from our guy Cullen Bunn, The Dreaming God, issue 2. Star Wars Hyperspace Stories issue 2. Again, Joe was the one to go and brave this and check out the first issue of this, more for a younger audience. So if you have a kid who likes Star Wars stuff, interested, would you say this is something that you would recommend them picking up, maybe taking a flyer on?
I don't know.
Okay, good to know.
Yeah. I'd have to really think about that.
What about Violet's age? Like if it's a boy, Violet's age?
I would say that maybe that 8, 9, 10 range.
Okay.
Patrick being 12 now, he might be, but
after meeting him and seeing the art on that, I have a hard time imagining that.
Right. So this really is for a younger audience to kind of get them into Star Wars.
Yeah. Okay. Maybe it stinks, but maybe someday we'll get that crazy gritty stuff. I'm not gonna hold my breath at this point. Then we also got Hellboy and the BPRD 1957 Fearful Symmetry issue 1, written by Mignola and Robertson. Of course, they're the guys that write everything now. Of course, Mignola is one that created all of it. And then the artist in this is Allison Sampson. From IDW, we got Usagi Yojimbo issue 31. Transformers Best of the Starscream issue 1. Then we got Crashing issue 1. This is written by Matthew Klein and Morgan Beam. Not something that either of us are necessarily interested in, at least at this stage. Rolling through the last few, Joe, we got AWA Absolution issue 3, Dynamite, Samurai Sonia issue 4, Titan, Gun Honey, Blood for Blood issue 2. Loved the first issue. We had Charles O'Donnell in the show a little while back talk about it. Vault, Barbaric, Axe to Grind issue 2. I think Barbaric's going to be the first book that I talk about on here whenever we do another mainline episode, if that day ever comes.
Next year.
Yeah. Valiant, we got Bloodshot Unleashed issue 1. That is by Denise Camp and artist John Davis Hunt, who was the artist on the first arc of Cullen Bunn's Shadow Man run. And then Aftershock, there's a book you want to highlight from there. And we also got Jimmy's Little Bastards issue 2 from them.
Yeah, so I actually saw this one on Twitter today because I think the FOC is soon, but it's called Hell is a Squared Circle #1, written by Francesco Biagini with art by Chris Condon. Ted, the Irish Mushka Walsh, is a third-tier wrestling heel with a problem himself. He's behind on rent, child support, and his career, but he thinks he can change things. As he attempts to take control of his life, his actions leave him with blood on his hands. Ted finds himself on the run from the authorities in the darkness of his past. As Ted tries to escape his former self and build a new, better future, his mistakes come back to haunt him in the ring and out of it. So I'm on this weird little run with wrestling books, started with Crimson Cage and John Lee's. Right?
Yep.
And now, even though I hate the name, Do a Power Bomb has been excellent. And so I got to give this one a shot, no doubt.
I think I noted this one for you. I could be wrong, but when I saw the cover for this, as we were getting prepared for this list, I'm like, oh, Joe's going to have to give this one a look. He has to. It's wrestling.
Well, you put the synopsis on there, and so we'll peek behind the curtain, right? My weeks, I write everything down, Nick. So, and then we go through after and we take a look. And okay, so I saw it literally on my timeline earlier today. Go, oh, that look! I had no idea when it was coming out. I was like, oh, this. And as I'm scrolling through, I see it and I go, oh yeah, I gotta highlight this one.
There you go. So I did not do it, but I definitely crossed my mind. Like Joe's probably gonna want to give this one a look. Nice, good stuff. My gut was right for once. Then we go to the last week of September. That is the week of the 28th, Joe. We have Marvel. Please kick us off as you do.
Okay, so we have X-Men 15, Gambit 3, Thunderbolts 2, Shang-Chi and the 10 Rings #3. So a very light week.
There are more books I see there's a difference between you can tell the difference between Joe's weeks and my weeks. I cut down on like ones and ones that we give a shit about.
This is a
That's
service for the people, right? We don't,
exact.
it's
Well,
a service for the people,
that's a
right?
fair point.
They're all out there because there might be people
You
that
know,
want to read the books that we're not reading or give a hoot about, but their ears perk up and they say, "Oh, it's coming out this week. Sweet. Let me go get it." And
you
then
know
maybe they
what?
pick up some of these other books that we've been talking about, Nicholas.
I feel bad because I feel like you have lectured me on this before, and I
Yeah, I
hate
did like
you.
the last solicit I lectured you on this.
Ah, maybe that's what it was. Maybe that's what it was. Okay. Well, I'll try to adjust next time. I won't make any promises, but I'll try.
Yeah, yeah, holy smokes. So, okay. So, those are the good books that we care about, but there might be other books that you care about from Marvel, but you won't hear them here because Nick doesn't care about you. We have Marvel Voices Community #1 also dropping this week. Nicholas, tell us a little bit about DC.
No, I don't think I will. I'm all set. I'm good. I'm done. You tell me I'm giving everybody the bird over here. I think I'm going to pass. But you know what? Whatever. Detective Comics 1064, Action Comics 1047, DC versus Vampires issue 9. We've been getting all out war for a little while, and I read the first issue. And I was kind of like, eh. Like it had Deathstroke at the center of it, but it's like, eh. But DC versus Vampires, absolutely all in on that one. Joe, Nice House on the Lake, issue 10. Of course, big book for you.
Fucking finally, can you look up to see when issue 9 came out? It feels like it's been a while.
I
It feels
saw
like
that.
I've kind of forgotten what the hell's been going on, and I was kind of waning on it anyways.
Kind of sucks. I know. Yeah, you were, and I'm pretty sure you were frustrated after issue 9 or issue 8. It was one of those two, if not both.
Because this is what Nice House on the Lake has done. It's been visually stunning every issue, right? It went up, it plateaued, and then dipped a smidge. And then it takes a 4-month break. It comes back like a rocket, and then it plateaus, it dips again, and then takes another break. So at this point, I'm just going to wait until it's done and just reread from the beginning
Oh,
because
wow.
I can't, I don't, because I'm going to have to go back and read the last issue anyways.
Yeah, no, I don't blame you for rereading, like for waiting. I don't blame you for waiting.
I want to have, I'm afraid, and we had this talk off air about the MCU and then what Marvel does on TV.
Mm.
And I need to separate the two going forward because it just makes me frustrated. I want to enjoy them. I want to enjoy what Disney Plus has been putting on there for TV shows because my expectations have been, when are the puzzle pieces all going to connect together? And I've learned by now they're not. We're going to get some Easter eggs. We might get some references. We might see a character here. We might see a character there. But expecting this overarching, it all come to, it's just not going to happen. So I have to enjoy the two for what they are. Right now, I'm on a pace for reading Nice House on the Lake, and it's not entirely enjoyable. However, if I start from the beginning again and read them while they're all out, I feel like my appreciation will change. We had this discussion with Keith about Saga, right? Where you, him, and I, we're all so used to just reading it volume by volume by volume.
Yeah.
And it is kick-ass and it's perfect and the pacing is excellent. What I found, what Rich found, I'm assuming what you find, is that reading it month to month, it feels a little discombobulated because there's that wait. So if it seems a little slow, right, it's because, all right, that's the pacing of that's the particular part where we are in the story, and we have to wait 6 months for it all to come together. Whereas normally we could read those 6 issues in a matter of half an hour.
Right. Yeah.
And it changes your outlook on it and it changes your appreciation for it. So I think that's what I'm finding now with Nice House on the Lake. We're going on almost 2 years here to tell this story. And I know I love it. I know that there's a good story there, but because there's been all these pauses and all these dips, I want to just read it all together to get the full appreciation for it. Because if I don't, then I feel like I'm going to get to that last issue. I'm going to be let down because I've had to wait so long and because it's been a little disjointed in terms of when it's been released. And I don't want that to happen.
Yeah, no, that's frustrating. I don't blame you for that at all. Like, I mean, I was just surprised that you're going to do it all from the beginning, but could be a more enriching experience.
Well, I'm going to have
I'm
to,
very
because
curious how you
I
feel about
kind
it.
of, there's nuances,
Sure.
right, to how Tynan's been writing this, and so there's like little things that like I've forgotten. I can't remember the characters' names, and I can't remember their parts in the story anymore. That's a problem. It's a
Yeah,
big
that's
problem.
and see, and this is like the problem with like the business in general. It's just like I do enjoy weekly comics. I do enjoy floppies because we get all these cool covers, right? And if you were to take that part out of the business, it's just like cool covers is just part of why some people buy comics in general. Like they just like these characters. Even people who maybe only watch the movies, they like cool covers and whatever. But if you were just to do stuff in trade form, period, and bring it out like week to week like that, I think as consumers, like I'd be curious what that would look like if you did that more frequently. I know TKO kind of does that, and I would be interested in it. But I understand, like from a business perspective, that's just by and large with indie comics, it's not
Yeah,
doing
my beef isn't with floppies. I mean, we've been reading Philadelphia for how long?
right.
Right? Like the only time we get a break is between arcs, which is fine. That's expected.
Yep.
That's par, for the
Sure,
course.
makes
But
a
with a
yeah,
story like this, it's like,
very true.
there's like, if a book has a pacing issue, then the last thing it needs is time in between,
Mhm.
prolonged periods of time between issues.
Yeah,
Right?
no, that make when you're right. It is a different issue that you're talking about. That's fair point. All right, so then we move over to we still got some DC stuff to highlight. We got Batman Beyond the White Knight, return of the main line for that story, issue 5. Then we got the Human Target, issue 7, Deathstroke Inc. 13. And by the way, I said I didn't have anything for catching up. I read Deathstroke Inc. 11, so I still got to read 13. But I forgot that I did check that one out. And Dexter Soy as the artist. Oh, Dexter Soy. Anything he does, I just don't see enough of his work out there anymore. It's a little disappointing. Superman Space Age issue 2. And then we got Batman The Audio Adventures issue 1, written by Dennis McNicholas and Jay Bone, which maybe we'll check that out when the
I'm gonna
time
change my name to J Bone.
comes.
Oh, where are our names up here? By the way, you didn't put our handles and our names up here for the people watching. They
They
got no
can't.
idea who we are. Oh,
They
there they
can.
are.
Is this your first show?
It
They
wasn't.
can't see it when we do it like that. When we show the weeks, whenever I show like I
Oh,
still have Doc Peepland in here, like they can't see it.
I've never noticed.
Wow, that
Yeah.
is mind blowing. This is why I handle production. Then we got DC Horror presents Sergeant Rock versus the Army of the Dead, issue 1, written by Bruce Campbell. That Bruce Campbell.
Yeah.
And then we got Eduardo Risso. So I'll give this one a look. Why
Yeah.
not?
I mean, it's worth checking out the first issue, no doubt.
And then we got Tim Drake Robin, issue 1, written by Megan Fitzmartin and Riley Rossmo. And I think Megan Fitzmartin was doing the Tim Drake stuff in Batman Urban Legends too. So
Okay.
if you enjoyed that, probably want to give this one a look.
From Image, last week of September, we have 8 Billion Genies number 5, Undiscovered Country number 21, The Scorched number 10, The Magic Order 3 number 3,
What a
A
week.
Natural Blue Blood number 3. That's a Mirka Andolfo vehicle. Ordinary Gods number 9. I still have to read 7 and 8.
I think I know I read 7. I think might still have to read 8 too. It was definitely a good return.
Yeah.
I think I read 8 too.
I got to
think I
get
did.
back on that. And then for number ones, we have Onyx, which is 96 page. Seems like a one-shot graphic novel written by Chris Ryle with art by Gabriel Rodriguez.
Looks cool.
Then,
I don't know. Like I was a little confused by this. I was looking it up, but it looks cool. We'll find out more as we get closer to it.
And then we have Old Dog number 1, written and
Oof.
drawn by Declan Shalvey, who we had on the show a few weeks ago. A great conversation. This book, again, is fantastic. This is another one where the FOC has passed, but go to your comic book shop, say, hey, listen, if you have any spare copies, can you pull one aside for me? Throw it in my pull list because you don't want to miss it if you don't get there, right away. This book is fantastic. Nicholas, tell us more.
Yeah, it was awesome. So just a quick synopsis so everybody knows. Again, listen to the episode where we talked to Declan about it because it was some great stuff. We got some great insight. Joe and I love this book. There's a whole lot going on. You don't even realize it in the first page, at like even close to what you're going to be dealing with. Old Dog follows Jack Lynch, a once promising CIA operative, on the eve of retirement, looking back at a failed career He is tasked with one final mission that goes horribly wrong. He wakes up years later to a changed world with even deeper changes within him. When a shadowy group offers Lynch a second chance for a life of adventure, he finds himself paired with the last person he could have imagined. In order to adjust, this old dog will have to learn some new tricks.
Yeah, absolutely fantastic.
Awesome stuff. Awesome stuff. And then we have one other first issue from Image that week 2, Joe. We got Flawed issue 1, written by Chuck Brown with art by Prenzi. Now, we did get advanced review copies of this. So I have taken a look at this. I did enjoy it very much. Chuck Brown is one of the co-writers on Bitter Root, which I talked about on this show a little while back. Bitter Root, awesome series. Just real quick, so for this one, I guess they had worked together, Chuck Brown and Prenzi, on The Stump, I guess is what's called. Again, it's On the Stump is the title of that series they worked on. They reunite for this ultra-violent, high-octane limited series that's Frasier meets The Punisher. So it's a Mac and Goo special if I've ever heard one. Jem E is a psychiatrist in the Kafkaesque city of Setham, where corruption and brutality rule the streets. By day, she uses words to solve her patients' problems. By night, she takes a more direct and sometimes deadly approach. I don't know what that whole thing is about, like the fake city that she's in and everything, but it's like feels like it's very much set in the real world. So don't worry about any of that stuff. I'm very much in. When I saw this synopsis, I thought this was really cool.
Yeah, it sounds pretty cool. We're gonna rip through a bunch of these here to sort of round us out. From Skybound, we have Stillwater 15, which I believe this one is coming to an end soon. I Hate This Place, number 5, which has been excellent.
Yep.
From Boom, we have Mighty Morphin Power Rangers number 1, which I believe is being written by
Melissa Flores.
Yep. Grimm number 5, which has also been tremendous, and then House of Slaughter number 9. And then for number 1 that week, we have Briar number 1, written by Christopher Cantwell with art by German Garcia. This is one that Nick tagged me on Twitter, calling dibs. The Stephanie Hans variant cover for this book looked outstanding. But what if Sleeping Beauty never got her happily ever after? Instead, she had to save herself. Set in a brutal fantasy world that time forgot. This isn't a fairy tale, 100% in on this. It's a Boom. It's a number 1. I'm not familiar with the team, but I've seen some of the covers for it. Looks tremendous.
Speaking of our guy Declan Shelby, he was all about this book, so he's got to look at this one. And I called dibs, so
well,
putting that out there, everybody.
Yeah. Just know that it probably won't be talked on the show then. From IDW, we have My Little Pony number 5 and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles: The Armageddon Game number 1, written by Tom Waltz with art by Vincenzo Federici. My Italian's a little rusty. From AWA, we have Devil's Highway number 5. And You Think number 4. 2 bangers from AWA. From Aftershock, we have Astronaut Down number 4, which I believe you've been reading.
Yep,
and
I have dibs on that one.
A good week for me from Comixology. Barnstormers number 3 and the All-Nighter number 10. And to round us out, Nicholas, from Dark Horse Comics, we have The Roadie number 1, written by Tim Seeley with art by Fran Galen. Take it away.
More than 35 years after his heyday, a former heavy metal roadie must return to the back roads of America to do a job he thought he'd retired from. Exorcist. But this time, he's not saving groupies and drunk bassists. He's trying to save his daughter. I am so in on this. We have exorcisms and we have heavy metal rock. I mean, I don't think there's anything more tailored to me.
Yeah,
I'm all in on this.
And Tim Seeley is a great writer. So yeah, this sounds like a winner for sure.
100%. Now, I do want to circle back one thing. This was a typo on my part with Boom. I believe that's Mighty Morphin Power Rangers 101 because it's like one issue 100, and then
gotcha.
I can't like it's the first issue after issue 100. So Melissa Flores taking over.
Who knows? People renumbering shit all the time.
Exactly. Right? It's a little confusing, but anyways, must read stuff there. Must read stuff on the Roadie. I'm very excited to get my hands on that one.
Yeah.
But that is going to wrap up our synopsis. Actually, one of our shorter synopsis in the show's history, believe it or not, if you're new to the show. But again, make sure if you haven't already subscribed to the audio channel, if you're just catching us on Twitter or Twitch or our YouTube channel, and feel free to subscribe on those too, and make sure you set up notifications so you know whenever we go live. It's always on Tuesdays, usually going to be at 5 p.m., but you want to subscribe to the audio channels because you're going to get those conversations and you're going to get all the Friar side chats like the one this week with Ryan Stegman. And Joe, if we have everything right, we are not done. Well, we're not going to ever be done because we've talked to all these people. We're going to have them back on the show, but we got other stuff always working in the background. But that's a conversation for another day. Until then, Joe, stay sexy.